Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to another video. As you guys can see on my screen, we have a Five Nights of Freddy video today. It's been a while since I made a Five Nights at Freddy's content. I kind of missed it. I kind of want to see what's going on. So, you know, I looked around at Game Fury, Film Furious, you know, saw what they got going on. I really enjoyed the first film. I'm hearing there's a second one, at least from this. I'm going to find out if there is. I actually don't know. I saw this title and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me react to it with you guys. Before we carry on, guys, if you enjoy gaming videos, I have another channel where I'm just going to be playing games or doing things that are just gaming on that channel. Anything gaming goes on that channel. So if you guys want to go and support the channel, please feel free to subscribe. Links will be in the description down below, or if you go on my main page, you'll see Why Mike Live, and that's where, you know, you can click on the link and it will take you straight to my other channel. All right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin.
The plot for the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie is right in front of us. In celebration of the franchise's 10th anniversary, Scott released 4 pages of the script, but only one of them is real. The key to figuring out which one is hidden on one of these script pages, and I figured it out.
So there is going to be another one.
Know which one it is. I'm not crazy, you're crazy.
You know...
Hello internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show where it's my turn to count animatronic toads. Can you believe that we're almost coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the FNAF movie? It's surreal
really?
After we waited for any update on that movie for so long. And well, if you really want to feel old, right now is the 10-year anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's as an entire franchise. A decade of games, books, comics, and more game theories than should have been possible. And in celebration, FNAF creator Scott Cawthon has gone all out. There's been new announcements, new games, a new interactive novel, a new interview, and even a frickin' crossover with Dead by Daylight. But most importantly, and the reason we are once again talking about one of Game Theory's favorite franchises on our film channel for the second week in a row, Scott also released 4 individual pages from the script for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the upcoming sequel to the movie. But there's a catch. Only one of these pages is real and is actually in the script. Only one of these pages is in the movie. Loyal theorists,
Why would he do that though? This guy's a tease.
This is a challenge. Scott looked at the community of overthinkers that he's gathered for FNAF and challenged us to figure out which one of these is actually real. You know what, Scott? I'm not scared. I will personally take on your challenge and I'll figure out which one of these pages is legit and which ones are just mimic knockoffs. And let me tell you, friends, after digging through them, comparing them to what we know about FNAF lore, and looking at these pages through the lens of the rules and etiquette of screenplays, I did it. I know which one of them is real, and it tells us so much about where the FNAF movie franchise is going. With just this one page, I believe we can map out not only the plot of FNAF 2, but also FNAF 3. Get your animatronic suits ready, friends, as we take a bite out of these pages. So because it's been about a year since the original FNAF movie hit theaters and we all did the Leo DiCaprio pointing meme when Matt popped up, let's do a recap so we're all on the same page of where things ended up. Five Nights at Freddy's follows Mike Schmidt, a young man struggling to take care of his younger sister Abby and keep down a steady job. His parents aren't around anymore, and he has nightmares about his brother Garrett, who was kidnapped and killed when Mike was just a child. Mike gets a job as a night security guard at a local Chuck E. Cheese ripoff called Freddy Fazbear's that's been shut down for years, since several kids went missing from the building. Over the course of a week, Mike meets a police officer named Vanessa and realizes that the pizzeria's animatronic mascots are haunted by the ghosts of those missing kids, and they want Abby to join them as a ghost in the restaurant. Oh, and also the man who gave Mike this job in the first place, William Afton, he not only was the founder of the pizzeria and creator of the animatronics, but he also murdered the kids and Mike's brother. Mike, Abby, and Vanessa team up, free the ghost kids from Afton's control, and Afton is killed by a malfunctioning animatronic spring-lock suit. But he warns that I always come back. And more or less, that's the movie. So what are the new pages we're dealing with? Let's go over them one by one. The first page has Abby talking with a new animatronic called Toy Chica. The toy animatronic animatronics are improved versions of the characters from the original FNAF introduced in the FNAF 2 game. They were much more advanced than the original animatronics, with a facial recognition system and child protection software programmed into them that would protect kids from anyone the animatronics deemed dangerous. Back to the page, as Toy Chica and Abby are talking, Vanessa is being held in the pizzeria's storage room, forced to give out some sort of code. Toy Chica then relays that to Abby, who is typing it into a computer. Abby puts in the code, Toy Chica's eyes light up, and excitedly she says, "You did it, Abby! We are free!" If I were a betting man, this page is showing Abby being tricked by the animatronics into freeing them from some form of their child protection software, so they can move around and hurt anyone they'd like, even if they're not deemed a predator or dangerous.
Oh, wow.
The second page, however, is completely different. Here we are introduced to General Everly and Captain Nelson, two completely original characters who aren't in the game. The pair have a conversation in some sort of conference room about a robotics project. Here, General Everly vents his frustration that the government funded Fazbear Entertainment, completely dumbfounded that they would get in bed with a pizza place. When it's pointed out that Fazbear Entertainment is way ahead on animatronic tech, Everly lashes out that this sort of technology shouldn't be tested on kids' entertainment, and that what Fazbear gave them wasn't animatronic tech.
I feel like this is more the movie plot than the other one, you know? I can't lie. I feel like this is the direction they would head into.
But instead, observable effects of unobservable energy exchanges. The third page starts with a conversation between Abby and Mike about a book where a boy gets sick with a very contagious disease called scarlet fever. The boy has plushies that he loves dearly, but they have to be burned because the scarlet fever has likely attached to the plushies, making them very dangerous. Apparently, Mike and Abby are dealing with some weird plushies themselves, and Mike realizes that Abby is saying that these plushies are dangerous too. Just like the book, they should be burned. Later, he calls up Vanessa and tells her to suit up in dark clothing because they have a job to do. Finally, the fourth page sees an unnamed man with two kids, Darren and Gemma, as they enter an abandoned Freddy's pizzeria. Here, the man turns on a carousel and leads the kids to the center of the carousel, where there's a hidden staircase descending into the darkness below. The three of them then descend into it, their fates unknown. So, which one is real? Well, all of them have...
Oh, it could be the second or the fourth one, guys. Second or the fourth one. The reason why I'm saying this is there's no guarantee we're going to get the same actors back in this one. So it only makes sense that they will build a story that doesn't really need to include them. You know? I'm leaning more towards the last one.
Have interesting ideas and bits that hint at them being real, but some are less realistic than others. To start, let's tackle the one I think is least likely to be the real page, the second page. This is the one where a group of army officers are talking about the animatronic tech that Fazbear Entertainment is developing. Now, there are a lot of fun little secrets hidden on this page. The general calls Fazbear Entertainment a circus, for instance, a circus as in it's a joke. This is a nice reference to one of the current talking points in the FNAF fan community, speculating about its origins as Fazbear's traveling circus in the 1970s. But despite that, this page is clearly fake for a few reasons. The first big reason is that this is introducing an element to the franchise that they've never used before, with the military. The strategy the FNAF movies seem to be taking is approaching the series as a whole, the games, books, whatever, throwing it all in a blender, and then shaping their story from the resulting Fazgoo.
That's why I think it's the fourth one. I don't think it's going to be... I assumed it was going to be the second one, but from what he's saying, it's not.
Well, Afton did talk to some supervising body during the opening cutscene of Sister Location, where they asked about some of his design ideas.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
Saying that this is a government entity is a stretch. Afton has never been said to have government backing in the games. It would require a lot of explanation for how and why this is even a thing, and we would need to spend so much time to explore what this meant for the story. And frankly, it just expands this franchise way too far, way too...
Hold up, where does all his money come from? Is it from the restaurants, the Fazbear restaurants? I'm starting to feel like, damn, I've never actually thought about the financials of things, because he has some pretty advanced stuff, and eventually he has like a base underneath his house, but I'm assuming it's from the franchises. Must have made a lot of money, but to make that much money to do it, it's crazy.
too quickly. We're suddenly going from one crazy guy in a pizzeria to an entirely government-funded operation. This isn't a movie 2 thing. This feels like something you do in like movie 4, right before you jump the shark and go to space. Now, trying to parse all of this FNAF lore out might feel like it's driving you crazy. I mean, I'm not crazy, right? But something that is crazy is that I did an exclusive mini-theory over on Throne Talk with the sponsor for today's episode, Game of Thrones Legends. Yeah, you heard that right. I did a mini-theory live in person at Throne Talk, which you can go watch right now along with the rest of the special presentation celebrating the new puzzle RPG Game of Thrones Legends. It's like a pre-recorded late night talk.
Can I say I used to skip this? Well, I don't want to today.
Talk show, but all about the nerdy goodness of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and of course, Game of Thrones Legends. Other creators at the event were the Man-at-Arms team from Ami, the Easter Egg Masters over at Screen Crush, and the Master Strategists at How to Beat, all hosted by the lovely folks over at Deerstalker Pictures. This whole opportunity was surreal, and I can't thank Game of Thrones Legends enough for making this happen. They flew me out to Northern Ireland to film at the Game of Thrones studio tour, and they shut the whole place down for us, and we got an exclusive look at one of the places where they filmed the actual show. They had real sets, real props, and real costumes from the show here, and I might have gotten just a little emotional seeing them in person. I mean, the Iron Throne was right there. I also ate dinner with a White Walker, which was just so fun and weird and cool. And all of these awesome details from the show were lovingly recreated in Game of Thrones Legends, which has tons of different champions from
I watched my first sponsorship, and this guy was taking a piss. Nah, this is too long. This is too long. It's too long, my friend. It's too long. Let's get back to
But more importantly, this interaction happens time to Game of Thrones Legends for sponsoring this episode, and let's hop back into the mystery of the FNAF movie pages. But more importantly, this interaction happens on page 18, which means it takes place at a weird point in the movie. But to understand why, we first have to talk about movie structure. See, a movie is generally broken down into 5 parts: the cold open, acts 1 through 3, and then the resolution. It starts with the cold open, which immediately drops you into the world and acts as a hook to get you engaged with the story. In FNAF 1, this is the security guard at the start of the film getting hunted by the animatronics. Then there's Act 1, where the main characters are introduced and the conflict of the story is discovered. In FNAF, we see this with Mike losing his job and needing to take the gig at Freddy's so he can take care of Abby. Screenwriters are taught that, as a general rule of thumb, 1 page of a script is equal to about 1 minute of screen time. To be clear, this isn't written in stone. A lot of scripts are much longer than the movie's final runtime, and a lot of long movies are made from super short scripts.
I never knew that 1 minute equals 1 page of scripts. Interesting.
Minute per page idea is like the pirate code.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
It mostly applies, enough that we can use it here. So, following this rule, at page 18, that means that this scene with the military would be happening somewhere like 15 or 20 minutes into the movie, making it a scene smack dab in the middle of Act 1. That makes no sense, considering everything else that Act 1 of this movie needs to do. It needs to tell us what Mike, Abby, and Vanessa have been up to, show us their new dynamic, introduce us to the new conflict. So it has a lot of heavy lifting it needs to do. So cutting away to the military drama here makes zero narrative sense, so we can safely eliminate this page. The act structure also lets us eliminate another page, the first one, where Vanessa is being forced to give Toy Chica a code and Abby is typing that code into a computer. Now, the concept of this scene, Vanessa being tortured to give up valuable information and Abby being tricked into using it to free the toy animatronics?
Give me a sec.
That could absolutely be in a movie like this. It's in character and the conflict makes sense. However, the placement of the scene makes no sense. This page is labeled as page 25, meaning that it would be roughly 23 to 28 minutes into the movie. That would place it either at the middle or end of Act 1. But that's way too fast for something like this to happen, and let's go over the rest of story structure to understand why. Normally, Act 2 of a story sees the characters encountering obstacles that stop them from getting getting what they want or need. It's also generally the lowest point for the main character. In the first FNAF movie, this is where Mike is trying to discover the secrets of Freddy's and agrees to let the animatronics have Abby. Act 3 sees the big climax of the story where all of the conflict is resolved. Mike, Abby, and Vanessa fight Afton and get the animatronics to turn on him. And finally, there's the resolution, which is a brief period of calm where a new status quo is established. Mike and Abby are living happily and visit a recovering Vanessa in the hospital. What's being described here in this page with Abby, Vanessa, and Toy Chica, it could absolutely happen in this movie at the end of Act 2, much further than page 25. Think of everything that needs to happen before this scene. We have to get reintroduced to the main characters, meet the new toy animatronics, have the child protection software be explained, have Toy Chica build up a relationship with Abby, and Vanessa needs to be captured. That can all happen by the end of Act 2 or into Act 3. But Act 1? No way. See, I really appreciate this page because it's really clever. The scene itself is realistic, and you do input codes into the baby animatronic in the sister location game. Abby is connected to Baby, so the ideas line up, but the timeline just doesn't. So, good troll, Scott. And so, that leaves us with just 2 pages left, and honestly, both of these are pretty valid options. Just as a reminder, these are the pages where Abby and Mike are talking about the dangerous plushies and where an unnamed man is leading 2 kids into a hidden room below the pizzeria. Both of these pages take place at reasonable points in the movie. The Mike and Abby scene is on page 58, so roughly an hour into the movie in the middle of Act 2. That's the perfect point for this sort of story revelation and the setup for an action set piece like we see on this page. Likewise, the man taking the kids into a secret room is on page 4, so right at the beginning of the movie. Again, makes perfect sense because this is exactly the sort of scene you'd want for a cold open to hook you into the story. Who is this guy? What's this secret room? What's gonna happen to these kids? It's good stuff. And nothing completely unrealistic or ridiculous happens on either one of these pages that disqualifies them, like the military page. Like, the cold open page is pretty standard killer luring kids into a dangerous place horror cliche, and there absolutely would be rooms hidden under an Afton pizzeria. We've seen that exact setup in other FNAF content like Sister Location and the Twisted Ones novel. As for the plushies, well, weird haunted plush babies are present in the Help Wanted series, and they attack the player, so they would be dangerous in the movie. The first FNAF movie also had the Balloon Boy toy that was basically a haunted, sentient toy, just like these plushies would be, so there's already precedence for this in the film universe. In fact, the Balloon Boy is like one of the movie's biggest hanging threads. They'd probably want to resolve that. And all of that's without mentioning that the plush babies would further the connection between Abby and Baby. Oh, and also there's Plush Trap 2, which is just straight up a plush version of the main villain that is alive and dangerous. I don't think that's what they're talking about here in the movie, but I just want
I need to find out more about these plushies because this is the first I'm hearing of them, or at least to this extent. I know about the animatronics being evil and not evil, but attacking people. But the plushies, interesting. I might search up some lore later. Yeah, I might react to some lore on this.
I wanted to point it out because it's a relevant detail. But with all of that being said, there is one thing that gives away the answer here. In the cold open page, there's mention of a carousel. This is where the man takes the children and reveals the hidden room. But it's shown to have 7 animatronics on it. A brown bear, a blue bunny, a yellow chick, a pirate fox, a gator, a wolf, and a hippo. In the games, there are only really 2 carousels that we know of. The one in FNAF 2 and the one in Help Wanted 2. And between them, the only characters that show up on them are Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Balloon Boy. Never a hippo, wolf, or alligator. Now, that's not to say they couldn't bring in other FNAF characters to fill in those spots, but it would be weird and it would make the timeline get real funky.
Oh, so
like, the hippo is absolutely referring to Mr. Hippo, an animatronic that first appeared in FNAF 6. It doesn't really make sense for Mr. Hippo to be here with the original FNAF animatronics, but I guess it's not impossible. In FNAF 3, the purple mask of a character that is almost certainly Mr. Hippo shows up in the Happiest Day minigame, implying that he could exist at the same time. But the other characters, though, are just much harder to justify. Now, for the Gator, I think all of our minds immediately jump to Monty Gator from Security Breach, but it is possible that this is referring to some other character, maybe? In The Man in Room 1280 story, the book's version of the Golden Freddy spirit, Andrew wears an alligator mask, so one existed that early in at least some some version of the FNAF timeline. And additionally, going back to the Happiest Day minigame, there's a green mask that could also be an alligator, but considering that the other masks, the pink pig, the purple hippo, and the orange elephant line up way more with the mediocre Melodies characters, I believe that this mask is actually referring to the Happy Frog. The eyes on the sprite are even yellow like the circles around Happy Frog's eyes, so I wouldn't be comfortable saying that the gator on the carousel in the script page is referring to anyone else other than Monty. He's just the only one that makes sense. All that being said though, the real outlier here is the wolf. The earliest wolf that we know of in the timeline is from the Twisted Ones, which is the book version of the FNAF 4 story, which features the Twisted Wolf animatronic.
Okay.
And we also know that there was a man-wolf character on a poster in FNAF 6. But why would either of those characters be on this carousel? That's a great question, and it really doesn't make sense. No, if this wolf is any character, it's almost certainly Roxy from Security Breach, which would also line up with Monty Gator. Regardless, having Roxy and Monty here is just weird.
However, from the movie didn't really line up with the story, the original story. So, I think they could write these characters in. I think because the movie wasn't the same as what we know. It's written differently. Yeah, it had some plots of to what we knew, but nah.
The movie was not shy about mixing elements from various games, but something it kept very consistent was its animatronics. It didn't overcomplicate them or introduce too many. Its cast was pretty consistent with the one from the games. So why on earth would they bring in Mr. Hippo from FNAF 6 and two characters from Security Breach with the original FNAF animatronics? Especially given just how much attention Scott pays to the tiniest details in his work. It just doesn't make any sense, and why I think that this page is a fake. Oh, and also, one of the kids on this page literally says the words, "This is a fake," so another subtle tip off there. Very cheeky, Scott. Nice. So there you have it. That leaves us with page 3 as the one I believe is the real page from the FNAF 2 movie. But we're not done. Now that we've concluded that this one is real, what does that tell us about the movie itself? Well, the main thing that stuck out to me about this page, beyond the fact that we're apparently getting haunted plushies or something like that, was the book that Mike and Abby were talking about. In case you need a reminder, on this page, Abby is talking about a book where a little boy has plushies that he loves, but after he gets sick with scarlet fever, he can't keep them. The disease is just so contagious that it might attach to the plushies and spread that way, so the plushies have to be burned. She then goes on to liken the book to the dangerous plushies that the gang is currently facing. Well, if the plushies from that book were so applicable to the current situation in this FNAF story, is there anything else from the book that would also apply? Well, after some research, I was able to figure out that the book that they're talking about here is a classic known as The Velveteen Rabbit, written by Marjorie Williams. This story is told from the point of view of a plush rabbit toy given to a small boy as a Christmas present. The rabbit desperately wants to become real and is told that it's possible when a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really
what in the Pinocchio is this?
loves you, then you become real. Over the years, though the boy gets other toys and presents that are more modern, he grows to love the rabbit plush and regards it as his favorite toy, treating it like it was a real rabbit. However, sadly, the boy is diagnosed with scarlet fever, a highly contagious disease. The boy takes the rabbit as he recovers, but when the boy is taken away to see other doctors, all of his possessions must be burned so that the scarlet fever has no chance to spread on his belongings. The night before the rabbit is to be burned, he reflects on the happy life he had with the boy and manages to shed a real tear. This summons a fairy that turns the rabbit into a real one for everyone to see, not just the boy, because the boy truly loved him. The next spring, the rabbit visits the boy, who is happy to see that the rabbit is real, alive, and living his best life out in the wild. I mean, guys, come on. Just on the face of things, there are so many parallels between this story and FNAF. First of all, a story about a rabbit that wants to become real? Well, FNAF is a series all about a man obsessed with a rabbit costume who wants to be reborn. He wants to make his dead daughter come back, that sort of thing. Those themes line up so perfectly that it's scary. And even if you just want to talk about the movie universe, Abby
Okay, I thought this book was in the FNAF universe. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right.
Loved the animatronics. She may want to help them become real by helping them find peace and move on to the afterlife. A darker interpretation could even focus on Mike here. We're pretty sure that his brother Garrett, who was killed by Afton in the previous movie, is gonna come back in this movie as the puppet. Perhaps Mike will have a similar moment here like the boy and the stuffed rabbit, except in reverse. He may see the toy that resembles his real brother and be sad that it's trapped and try to work to free Garrett. But the biggest thing here is the use of fire in the Velveteen Rabbit. A parallel for the dangerous and contagious scarlet fever from the book in the FNAF universe may be Remnant. And one of the ways that the game says that you can destroy Remnant is through the use of fire, just like how the rabbit is set to be burned to get rid of any traces of scarlet fever. That may very well be the key to defeating the big bad of this movie and freeing whatever spirits are trapped in the pizzeria. If that's the case, that also tells us that the FNAF movie sequel is going to be incorporating elements of both the games FNAF 2 and FNAF 3, combining elements of both into one story. See, FNAF 3 is not exactly the sort of game that is easily adapted into an exciting film. It's just two characters alone in a building. But at the end of that story, Mike burns down the pizzeria to defeat Afton. That could be moved to the FNAF movie sequel, with Mike and Vanessa burning down Freddy's to release the spirits and destroy any remnant inside. It also opens the door for the series to immediately move on to a bigger adaptation of Sister Location as a way to finish off the movie series, all while mixing in elements of FNAF 4's dream sequences as backstory, maybe for Garrett. Honestly, after sitting here and just thinking about it, that arc makes so much sense. And after spending just way too much time trying to figure out which one of these pages is real, I just can't imagine a better path forward for these movies. But then again, Scott always manages to completely pull the rug out from under us, revealing a new trapdoor and deeper levels to the story than we could ever imagine, so maybe we'll never escape. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And if you want to see what other hints about...
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on what film theory had to say about all of this, and feel free to give me your thoughts as well. It'd be nice to read through them. So yeah, without further ado, guys, I'm gone. Take care. Peace out.